Talk to you about the DC's Rebirth. Now, technically, this started a little while ago, but I've actually been sort of reading through some of it, and honestly, I'm impressed. I like what DC is doing. So I'm going to talk to you about specifically the Rebirth books that I've actually read. Starting with Rebirth itself, the intro to the whole series here, DC Universe Rebirth. Now, this book, it's a hardcover. When I first saw it, I was like, man, it's only $17.99 for a hardcover. That's pretty cool. That being said, it's a little bit less book than I thought it was from the outside. I thought this would be more of a complete story. The truth is, this is more of a beginning chapter. This is more of kicking off the idea of the beginning of that rebirth. This book's main story focuses on the return of the original Wally West, which, I'll be honest, I was surprised they changed Wally West to begin with. Not because I have a problem with making characters black or white or different races, mainly because for a lot of people, Wally West was and is the Flash. He was literally the Flash for over 2 decades before they even brought Barry back. It was around 2 decades. I have to look at the exact dates, but it's at least 2 decades of people growing up with Wally West as the Flash. And the main story takes place around Wally West trying to basically jumping around the Speed Force, trying to find people who remember him, who can bring him back into reality as he sort of just flails around in the Speed Force. And that's the main story of what is happening. So here's just an example. Here's him trying to get Batman to remember him. He doesn't really remember Wally West, even though Wally West initially picks him because he thinks he's a great detective and whatnot. But it doesn't really work out the way that he wants it to. There's also a lot. The book also does a lot of setting up different threads that are going to be continued throughout the Rebirth series. A lot of this is the start. This is almost like the first episode of a season of a show in a lot of ways. At least a serialized show. Like just an example here, you have the Legion of Superheroes from the Future. So clearly that they're going to be playing a part in it as well. And there's just a number of other ones like that. If you're a fan of Wally West, this is an A. If you're a fan of Wally West, this is an easy recommend. If you're just a fan of the DC Universe in general, it's more like a B. I do recommend picking up because it's a good way to start into the Rebirth. It gives you an idea of where the universe is going. Of course, there's the controversy of the merging of the Watchmen universes. I know some people were complaining about it, but honestly, if it's going to be this well done, I'm not going to have a problem with it. And where it looks like they're going with it seems very interesting. I definitely want to read The Button. Now, what I immediately read after that was Green Arrow Volume 1. And very happy with this book. Mainly I'm very happy with this because it brings back a lot of the things that I love about Green Arrow. I love the idea that he is this knee-jerk liberal guy. I think that's a great character trait. Why not? I love the fact that the Question is a libertarian. Those are cool. People are those things. It's a great idea to have characters that are. It just makes them a lot more interesting and unique. And they bring that back a lot with this in Green Arrow. He's very socially conscious. He's always trying to be a philanthropist. And the other thing is that where they start going with both this book and the second book is they introduce an evil super bank. Like literally he's going after bankers, like supervillain bankers, like the people who handle all the money for supervillains. It's a great idea for a Green Arrow comic. Now, the one thing about this series that I'm a little bit iffy on, kind of, is the introduction of the character of, and maybe they did this in another series, but this is where I'm discovering her character, is Emiko. It's a terrible picture. I don't know why I picked that one. But essentially, Emiko is Green Arrow's sister from his father. Now, the thing that makes her weird to me, there's a better picture of her right there, although it's kind of spoilery. The thing that's weird about her to me is that she's kind of replacing Connor Hawke, who is Green Arrow's son, as his sister. My only problem with this is I love Connor Hawke, and I really want Connor Hawke to come back. I love his character, and I really want to see him return to the comics. And in this book, his mother is the mother of Emiko, who is Green Arrow's brother, which means either Connor's going to have a different mother, or it's going to be weird, almost incest. I say almost incest because she's not technically related to him. It's just weird because that means that she would be both the mother of his sister and of Green Arrow's son. So that's weird. The other thing that's great about this is it brings back the relationship of Black Canary into the story, and it's them getting to know each other, which is a great story, and I'm so glad they're bringing it back because they're just an iconic couple, you know, iconic comic book couple. I give it an A minus. I give it an A minus. If you love the character of Green Arrow, I give this an A. For Green Arrow fans, this is definitely an easy A. I recommend it. I think it's a great start. I think the villains are a cool idea. Then that brings us to volume 2 of that, which is Island of Scars. More development of their relationship, which is fantastic. Eddie Friars makes his return to the series. The series also contains Diggle, which I think actually he works well as bringing him over. I know they brought him over from the show a while ago, but I think he is a good addition to the comic book series. I love the fact that the story simultaneously allows him to be this giant liberal and still maintain all his liberal values, while at the same time people like Black Canary are constantly conning him on the fact that, man, you are the most white privileged person ever. You're a billionaire white dude. It's just volume 2, also great. I would say I also give this an A. Once again, honestly, my only real complaint is I still feel weird about the Emiko thing because I miss Connor Hawke and I want that back. Really enjoying both those books. Which brings us to Extinction Machines with the Justice League. First of all, Justice League, I've always had a hard time figuring out who my favorite comic book character is. So if you force me to choose a comic book, I would just say, Justice League, because it has all of my favorite ones in it. With this Justice League, we have an interesting team here we got Batman, Superman. Now this is the original Superman. This is the Superman from the pre-52 universe, and their introduction of him and use of him is actually kind of interesting. Batman doesn't trust him. The other Superman is dead at the beginning of the other Superman is dead in the Rebirth book that I was talking about earlier. And Extinction Machines is a pretty cool series, and I'm really wondering if Extinction Machines is going to tie in to the whole Watchmen thing. And I only say that because essentially there are these. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not exactly sure what happens in this comic. I do, but at the same time, there's a lot that isn't explained to us. Check out these guys. They all kind of look like Dr. Manhattan, and I really want to know how that ties in. The thing that is not clear in this comic book is whether or not these guys are destroying the Earth or protecting it. The Justice League throughout the book consistently thinks that they're destroying it. But the way I was reading it, I genuinely began to wonder if that's what they were doing. But honestly, it's a great start. There is some ambiguity to it, but it's got some great stuff. Lots of the League doing really cool stuff. And it's a nice intro to it. I would appreciate a little bit more character stuff in it's not that there isn't character stuff in this Justice League. There is. And it is epic, and I love that it's epic. But sometimes I do feel like the Justice League doesn't always have to be ridiculously epic. Now, to be fair, it is the first storyline, so they probably wanted to hit epic right out the gate. I also read Volume 2, and Volume 2 is actually 2 different storylines going on in it. The first one is interesting, and I'm not really sure how it ties into other things. It actually does give us some more character stuff. Essentially, in the first story, they're attacked by this strange giant fear cloud thing, and they think they beat it, but what it actually does is it invades the female Green Lantern's ring and through her actually invades all of their minds and sort of accentuates the worst parts of all of their personalities, including a really dickish Barry Allen. Um, and of course, Wonder Woman and Aquaman decide to take peace by force and whatnot. And it's pretty cool. The second story the second story is essentially about them getting hacked by a supercomputer program called Genie, which is just like the ultimate search engine that can also make things happen in real life. It's pretty cool. I would give A- as well. They're both great. I think that they're building to something, and I'm waiting for that thing that they're building for. But what inspired me to make this video, the comic book that really made me go, I gotta make a fucking video to talk about how great this comic book is. Nightwing better than Batman. Holy goddamn. You just don't read comic books this well done all the time. And I've given all these comics I've gone over with you today good reviews. So there's not a lot to comparison as to how picky I am about comic books. But let me assure you of one thing. This is one of the best done comic books I can even think of right now. Because it's so perfect for the character. Now, I was a huge fan of the Dick Grayson, and I have a shit ton of his run on Nightwing from the original Nightwing run. And this is different than that. But at the same time, it's very true to his character. It really goes into the whole idea of him as a circus performer, and how that gives you this wanderlust, and he wants to travel, and it ties in his spy thing. The only real complaint I can even really have about this comic is that one of the characters who is sort of a frenemy of his, who sort of becomes his frenemy, if you will, without giving away too many spoilers, is this guy called Raptor. And my only real problem with Raptor, because honestly, I think he's a great character. I really enjoyed him. But my one problem with Raptor, let me see if I can find a good picture for you here of him. My real problem with Raptor is that he looks like, I'll say a good picture. It's gonna be a good picture of him. Is my problem with Raptor? My problem with Raptor is that he looks almost exactly the same as another Nightwing villain called Shrike from the original Nightwing comics, who also has an intricate backstory with Dick Grayson. And the thing is, they're both orange and have similar masks and shit. And when I first picked this up at comic and I was glancing through it, and I was like, oh cool, they brought back Shrike. I think that was his name, Shrike. Who in the comic books had bladed tonfas or something. But that is not who this is. He just looks a hell of a lot like Shrike. Okay, the coat's different, but the mask and color scheme is pretty much Shrike. So that's weird. I don't know what that's about. But that being said, just everything in this comic book works. It nails Dick Grayson's character. The introduction of Raptor he's simultaneously you immediately like him. I mean, I almost immediately like him. Not immediately, like 1 or 2 chapters in. But he's a great character. He's very likable. It's got some twists that are not terribly shocking, but they're well done and it earns them. And his relationship to Batman is excellently done. There's so much I want to say about this comic that would be spoilers. It just nails it, right out of the gate. Better Than Batman is a great title. Not that he necessarily is better than Batman, but it's a great goddamn comic book. If you ever had to recommend you pick up any of these comics, it would be this one. That being said, the only other thing in this comic book that made me sad is that Tim Drake is dead. In fact, he dies 3 or 4 issues into this storyline. And I'm just going to say this right now. DC, you better fucking bring Tim Drake back. Tim Drake is the most underrated Robin, despite him having a comic book series that ran over 100 issues. and being one of the most accomplished Robin. In fact, he's the Robin that all the other Robins steal everything from all the time. Like in Young Justice, when you see Dick Grayson hacking. No, Dick Grayson is not a hacker. Dick Grayson does not do computer stuff. That's why he has Oracle. The hacker is Tim Drake. So get that. So get on board with that. That's something they stole from Tim Drake. The costume that all the Robins wear, Tim Drake's costume. They stole it from him. They've stuck him with this red crap from the animated series. But no, what you see Dick Grayson wearing in the original animated series, that's Tim Drake's costume, not Dick Grayson's. He's just the Robin who constantly gets screwed over in the mainstream, and he deserves more. I give this an A+. This is an A+. I genuinely think this is one of the best comic books I've read in a while. Now, it's not like it just gets so much right, and it's well put together, and the character stuff all works. It just does. It inspired me to make this damn video. So please do go out and check out the Rebirth stuff, especially Nightwing Volume 1, better than Batman. I've not read Volume 2, nor am I sure it's been put out yet. But definitely read this book. Give it an A+. All right, well, thank you for putting up with this, whatever it is I do. Please like, subscribe. If you want me to see me do more comic book actual reviews or just talking about comic book characters, please let me know in the comments, because I love comic books and I'd love to talk more about them. All right, you take it easy.